projects, which is very timely work because there are more books being adapted to film and television right now than at any previous time in history. Let's hear what Erin has to say. Erin, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, you are the director of TV and film for what is, I think, the largest literary scouting agency in New York.
Yep, Franklin Siegel.
So what is it that a scouting agency does?
It's interesting. It's one of those things that you hear the word and not a lot of people know about. They hear scouting and they're like, oh, location scout? Talent scout? What are you doing? And it's basically an intermediary. Agency was founded scouting North American books for foreign markets overseas. So we represent over 25 foreign publishers in different territories, telling them what does well over here could work for their agencies. Years ago, somebody got the brilliant idea of, hey, Hollywood needs to find out about this stuff early, as do our foreign publishers. Let's start scouting for some Hollywood types. And that's how it started. And I've been at Franklin Siegel since 2000, January 2000. So I like to keep my jobs every century, change jobs.
And you've worked on a lot of very successful projects,
Yes.
a lot of book-to-movie successes.
Yes. I mean, it's hard. The ratio is not that high of books that get optioned. That I would say out of 100 books that get optioned, I would say 8 to 10 make it.
Really, I wouldn't have even guessed
high.
It was that high.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's, if not everyone who writes a book stream, a lot of people seeing their book turned into some kind of visual media, movie, TV, whatever. How do you make that a reality? How do you make that happen?
There are a lot of steps and a lot of people involved in getting that
Well, let's
done.
walk through them.
Absolutely. The first step is obviously write a book.
Right.
And that's, I'm sure everyone's got one in their desk drawer. That's the first step.
And the better book, the better, right?
Exactly. Because it's not only a dream to have it be, seen as a movie or a TV. You want it done well. You want the right people to do it. And you don't want a lousy version of your book to hit the screen.
Well, are there things that make some books stand out? And I don't really mean like genre. It just means some qualities that you see recurring.
Strong story, strong characters. Because when you're doing an adaptation, a screenplay, you can change things around. It doesn't matter if the writing is super strong or super literary in the book. That's going to change anyway in the screenplay. You look for things that will translate to the screen. Are there great chase sequences? Is it an action adventure? Are there set pieces? Is there a character that we care about, we love to hate? Is there stuff going on that's going to keep an audience intrigued?
All right, that makes sense. All right, so you write a spectacular book, and
Absolutely,
then what?
A great book, bestseller, sells millions. Then you want to
because
get...
that makes it more likely to catch the attention of
Doesn't
people in
always,
Hollywood.
It doesn't need to be, but it definitely gets people's attention. And it's definitely going to get you a better market price for your option fee. So once you get the big book and it's a huge success, then hopefully you would have a lit agent recommend you to a book-to-film agent. And they split the commission. They split the 15% commission.
Is the agent essential for the movie deal?
I would say more often than not, 9 times out of 10, you're going to need an agent for a film deal or a TV deal. For legal
Hollywood
reasons.
more comfortable working with an agent?
Yes. They're known quantity. They know them if they're a reputable agency that they're coming from. Also, it's for legal reasons. They want to protect themselves, and the author should want to protect themselves as well. So it's for both sides. They can't take anything unsolicited or unagented.
You talked about writing bestsellers, but it seems to me, maybe not as often, but sometimes books I've never heard of, or even indie projects that were not high-profile books, still end up getting turned into something, movie, television.
Absolutely.
Something.
And now there's no better time than now because there's so many avenues to go to. There's not just the traditional broadcast networks or the traditional studio movies. There's streaming, there's Netflix, there's Hulu, there's Amazon. There's so many more up and coming ones, CBS All Access. Every network is going to jump on that. And there's just so many places to go. And with streaming, you're not beholden to a schedule. It's endless. They can make it. They can put it up. You can watch it whenever. And I think people are getting into that, binging shows on their own schedule, watching it on their own schedule, So there's no end to the material that they need.
So the buying season is all year long,
Always.
I imagine.
Pilot season has become all year long, too. Which is great for authors, which is great for scouts like me.
Okay, so you've written the book, you've got an agent, now what?
Now you have the agent do submissions. And it's a good thing to talk with the agent about their plan. Do they see this as a series? Is this a limited series, a recurring series? Is this a half hour? Is this an hour? Or is it a feature film? How are we going to do this? Mm-hmm. And have a plan in mind, a targeted submission. So that's when they take over and they say, I think this is a feature film, and I'm going to submit to X, Y, and Z producers. And they usually come up with a plan. Or they may say, I think we're going to go to directors for this. This is a director's piece. We're going to do that and target it towards, specific talent.
How much of that, and I know this is going to be hard to quantify, but how much of it do you think is skill of the agent and how much is just right book in the right place at the right time?
You definitely want a skilled agent, but it's the latter.
It's a little of both. Oh,
I think it's probably a little bit of the latter, because you can have the best agent in town. If people aren't buying that genre or that type of thing, timing is huge. So you definitely want your agent to be skilled and well connected and well respected, but timing is everything.
All right, so you got the agent. They're making submissions. I'm going to guess the next step is somebody likes it.
Hopefully, and hopefully many like it. So then there's an auction.
Oh, even better, yes.
You can have the outright buy, or hopefully if there are many parties bidding, you got yourself an auction on your hands. And the agent handles that. And it could be a case of when 50 Shades of Grey was on the market, and it became this runaway hit because of the e-book sales, because people could read it on the subway and nobody knew they were reading a naughty read, and the mommy book clubs came and made it a huge hit. It took off. The author and her agent flew to LA. They set themselves up in the Soho House in West Hollywood, and that book was so huge and everybody wanted it that they could sit back and everybody came to them.
Oh, sweet.
And did like their dog and pony show of why we should get this. And I heard the rumor was one of the studios made their own red room with like the whips and chains and the whole thing. I don't know if that's true or not, but everybody tried to woo her. And in the day, my studio, Universal, got it for them and Focus Features, their smaller kind of art housey subgenre. And they won the day. And it was basically because they were willing to pay a good amount for the option price, but they also had the right vision. And the author was like, they're the ones I want to do the book with. They get it.
What, can you say a little more about that? I mean, what was the vision? Did the author have something in particular in mind?
I think they came with that. We're definitely going to get a female director. We're going to go. And the plan that they had for it, which had done so incredibly well, they paid a hefty option price. They paid, I think it was $4 million for all three books. Yeah. But they filmed it in Vancouver. There were two relatively, not unknowns, but lesser known actors, Jimmy Dornan and Dakota Johnson. They're well known, but not big enough to open a movie. So they saved on the budget. They really scaled it back and were very smart. Sam Taylor Johnson, I think her name is. She was the director, and she really did a great job of like, all right, let's keep the budget low. And they were so smart to do that. And films too, the second and third film were shot back to back. So they saved money doing that. And it has grossed over $1 billion. That's insane.
That turned out to be a good investment.
Absolutely. So everyone scoffed at them for paying $4 million.
Really?
Yeah.
It sounds like a good investment.
Paid off.
So you were saying the actors couldn't open the film, right? It was the book that opened the film.
It was the book. It was people were coming to see that book come to life. And I remember at first they had cast Charlie Hunnam as the lead, as Christian Grey. He was from Sons of Anarchy. And everyone was like, yeah. And then I think he got scared and walked away from the project, or maybe have scheduling conflicts. And now that I think about it, I'm like, he would have been all wrong. He wouldn't have been right for it. So it had a couple of things, and it just was one of those things that when they released it, and Donna Langley at Universal had this vision, like, people are going to go, with their girlfriends, go to dinner like they did to the Sex and the City movie. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think so. I was like, women are kind of private about their,
you'd think,
kind of sexy reads and sexy movies. They're private. They'll watch it on cable, but I don't think they'll go out. Well, I was wrong. Yeah. They got together in groups and they went out with their girlfriends to see it.
It's even released, or at least one of them was on Valentine's Day, wasn't it?
Well, they timed it each one around Valentine's Day. So, and that paid off. It was a good gamble.
Kidding. Well, walk us through the rest of the process.
So then you get the film deal, and then hopefully they get moving and they get it done. Again, you can be in development hell. The exec who bought it could have left and abandoned it, who knows, but hopefully you get it made. Then once it's made, then they premiere it, and that's the whole step. Usually, if you're a first-time author, you're not going to really be involved past the option. I mean, they may as a courtesy, but some places
because you don't have enough clout.
You don't have enough clout, or you haven't done this before. But some places give the author a crack at adapting it. Sometimes like, oh, you want to be a screenwriter? Do you have any credit? Have you done it before? Why don't you take a crack at writing, Any
insight on how to make that happen? Because I'm sure that's what many at least, authors would like.
If they would like that, I would say make yourself I forget what it is it called. What's the program that you're supposed to be like? Final Draft.
Yes.
That's the one. Be very adverse in it. Like, be very, make yourself, comfortable with that format.
Give some indication you'd know what you're doing.
Exactly. That helps. Yeah. But, they did it like with Gone Girl. They gave Gillian Flynn. She hadn't done a screenplay before. They gave her a crack at it.
Turned out all right.
Turned out well for her as well. So there you go.
Is she continuing to do that with the Sharp Objects and whatever else?
Don't know if she did that, but she got other projects from that.
She may be too busy now.
That's true, yeah. But one of the first things that I got optioned when I was early on, I got a client, Industry Entertainment, to get 25th Hour by David Benioff. Mm-hmm. He wasn't well known at all. He had a couple of literary novels under his belt. Nobody really knew him.
City Industry, of Thieves, yeah.
Exactly. Industry got this. They got Spike Lee to direct, Edward Norton to star in, Philip Seymour Hoffman. This amazing cast. And after that, he was never out of work a day. He never had a free day after that because he did a Batman movie after that. And then before you know it, here comes Game of Thrones.
Right.
So I don't think he's, sweating, he's sweating a budget.
And appears to be content to work in television and film. I mean, I
TV's
mentioned
taking such great chances now. Yeah, so they're really, you can really become, like they used to say film was a director's medium, TV's the writer's medium. Now it's a little bit of both, because I think you're getting A-list talent interested in doing TV, thanks to things like True Detective and Big Little Lies. So it's really kind of spicing up the TV market, which is nice.
Any words of advice? And I know this is a pretty big, broad, general question, but if you're going to give any advice to authors who are writing their books and might want to sprinkle something on it to make it more appealing to Hollywood, what might that be?
I would say, and this can maybe help if like you don't have an agent, you're looking to get an agent, do your research. Check out also, like, have the elevator pitch for your book at the ready. And that means have a 2 or 3 sentence pitch. If you had to pitch your book very quickly, how would you describe it in 2 or 3 sentences that's going to hook somebody in? So I would work on that, and also check other books that are similar and check their acknowledgement sections for their agents. Like they always thank their agent in their acknowledgements. Right. You can be like, oh, well, this book is kind of similar. I think that audience would appreciate my book. Maybe solicit that agent from there. Just do your research and keep note of who's repping what, who's buying what. And just the more informed author is, the better is going to do a little bit better.
That makes sense. Erin, thanks for being on the podcast.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Wasn't that a terrific interview? And here's my really exciting follow-up. You want to hear more from Erin? Are you thinking, man, my book would be a terrific Netflix series. I wish I could get her to represent me. I wish I could tell her about my book. Well, you can. Guess what? Erin is going to be a featured presenter at next year's Writers' Conference. which I'm announcing now for the first time is going to be redubbed rather than the complicated name that goes